In the outskirts of Aspen, Colorado, December 1993, snow was falling gently around a Victorian mansion. 8-year-old Abigail Sterling sat by her second-floor bedroom window, gazing at the pristine snow accumulating in the garden. Christmas was just 2 days away. Though a grand Christmas tree stood decorated in the living room downstairs, she had no memory of ever decorating it together as a family. Expensive paintings adorned her bedroom walls, with antique furniture crowding the space. Everything had been chosen according to her mother Elizabeth's taste, with no consideration for an 8-year-old girl's preferences. The only thing that brought Abigail comfort was her worn teddy bear that sat on her bed. "Miss Abigail, I've brought you some hot chocolate," came the gentle voice of Mary Foster, the maid. The girl turned around. In her mid-50s, Mary was the only person in the house who showed Abigail any affection. With her carefully styled graying hair and immaculate uniform, she carried herself with quiet dignity. "Thank you, Mary," she said, accepting the warm drink. Abigail noticed her mother Elizabeth's voice drifting up from downstairs. "Oh yes, of course I'll be attending the party. I'm planning to wear my new Chanel. Mrs. Lauren will be there too, so appearances are everything." Her mother's elegant laughter echoed through the house. More talk of social gatherings, as usual. For her father Jonathan, an investment company executive, and her mother, a socialite, time with their daughter was merely an afterthought. In truth, maintaining the appearance of a perfect family in Aspen's high society was her parents' primary concern. Her father held weekly meetings with clients at the golf club, while her mother served on the board of various charity organizations. The Sterling name appeared without fail in the society pages of the newspaper. Mary noticed the girl's lonely expression and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "Would you like to make a gingerbread house with me tomorrow? Making Christmas treats was such fun last year, wasn't it?" Abigail's eyes lit up at those words. The memory of making the candy house with Mary last Christmas, while her parents were in Hawaii, remained one of her most cherished memories. However, she didn't yet know that this joy would be short-lived. Dark shadows were already creeping around the mansion. Every night, shouting could be heard from her father Jonathan's study, behind the heavy door adorned with expensive wood paneling. Her father's anguished voice leaked through. "What do you mean the deadline has passed?" His face contorted at the voice on the other end of the phone. Stacks of bills covered his desk. The red letters of collection notices cast ominous shadows in the study's light. A failed real estate investment after the Lehman shock. $3 million in debt. Her father had invested heavily in what he thought was a promising redevelopment project, but the market crash had turned everything to dust. Now, the threatening letters from debt collectors were increasing day by day. Behind their outwardly glamorous lifestyle, the Sterling family was rapidly heading toward collapse. Mother Elizabeth immersed herself in ever more luxurious shopping, as if to escape reality. New bags, jewelry, fur coats, couture dresses, costing over $100,000 each, hung in the dressing room, still with their tags attached. Credit card bills kept piling up in her father's desk drawer. The servants quit one after another due to delayed wages. Once numbering over 10, now only the cook and Mary remained. Mary alone stayed out of concern for Abigail. She never mentioned the unpaid wages and instead took even more care of the little girl. "That child is innocent," Mary had confided to the cook. "She's the only light in this house." Then one night, Abigail accidentally overheard her parents' conversation in her father's study. Standing in the dark hallway, the girl froze. $5 million, that would solve everything. But could we really? We have no choice. If we don't get $1 million by the end of the week, it's all over. But... Shut up. This happened because of your wasteful spending. They were talking about their daughter's life insurance. Abigail couldn't understand the meaning of their conversation, only the strange tension in her parents' voices remained, lodging as anxiety in her young heart. Her nightmares became more frequent. On the night of December 22nd, her father suddenly announced they would go to the Rocky Mountains as a family. "That's right, Abigail. There's a surprise for you tomorrow." Her father's eyes had a hollow gleam. Her mother handed her daughter a new camera with a strained expression. The expensive SLR camera was brand new, straight from the box. "This will make wonderful memories." Abigail didn't yet know the cruel plan hidden behind those words. The snowy scene visible from the mansion's windows silently enveloped everything, like a pure white coffin. On what would be her last night, Abigail dreamed of making the gingerbread house she had promised to make with Mary. December 23, 1993, 7:15 a.m. The sun was beginning to rise over Rocky Mountain National Park, Colorado. The summit area of Flat Top Mountain was covered in 12 inches of fresh snow from overnight. In the bitter cold, the morning light illuminated the Sterling family's black Mercedes-Benz. Father Jonathan sat in the driver's seat. Mother Elizabeth in the passenger seat. Abigail in the back. It was a rare family outing, one that would never normally occur. "Aren't you cold?" There was an unfamiliar tremor in her mother's voice. Despite wearing her new mink coat, she was shaking abnormally. "I'm fine, Mother," Abigail answered from within the scarf wrapped around her neck. Mary had specially knitted it for her the night before. "But why are we leaving so early?" "We'll see a beautiful view," her father's voice was oddly cheerful. The knuckles of his hands gripping the steering wheel were white. "You'll be able to take sunrise photos." The car climbed the mountain road. Abigail carefully held her new camera. The lens had anti-fog coating and high-sensitivity foam was loaded. The batteries were new. A perfectly prepared camera. At 8:30 a.m., they arrived at an observation point at about 10,000-foot elevation. There wasn't a single other car in the parking lot. The Sterling family got out of the car into the biting wind. "There's a scenic spot this way," her father started walking, holding a map. He left the maintained walkway for a narrow path marked with "No entry" signs. Her mother followed silently behind. "Dad, isn't this dangerous?" "Don't worry, Abigail," her father's voice echoed in the frozen air. "You're a special girl." They stopped at a spot about 500 meters off the walkway. A deep canyon opened up below them. Standing at the edge of the cliff, the bottom was invisible. "Let's take a photo here," her father said. He took the camera. "I'll take it." "Abigail, move a little closer to the edge." The girl did as she was told, approaching the cliff's edge. The cold wind cut at her cheeks. Her mother stood several meters back, face turned away. That's when Abigail noticed something in her father's eyes. It wasn't love or kindness, it was emptiness. "You're worthless, Abigail." Her father's voice had changed, cold and mechanical. "But this will solve everything." A sudden impact. The strong sensation of being pushed from behind. Abigail's body slowly tilted forward. She heard her mother scream in the distance as she fell toward the cliff bottom. Strangely, time seemed to move in slow motion. The gingerbread house she had promised to make with Mary, she would never be able to make it now. Such thoughts crossed her mind. Help! An unvoiced scream. Abigail's body tumbled down the snow-covered cliff. Just before falling into the thicket 30 meters below, the camera strap caught on a rock protrusion. The shutter clicked. The flash fired. As consciousness faded, the intermittent shutter sounds continued, as if calling for help. Park Ranger Tom Wilson noticed those flashes about 40 minutes after the incident. "Martha, there's something flashing over there." The Wilson couple was on their regular patrol. The veteran ranger's instinct sensed something was wrong. Could it be a person? The rescue was extremely difficult, below freezing temperatures, steep slopes, deep snow, but Tom and Martha didn't give up. Using safety ropes, they carefully descended. Upon confirming Abigail was alive, they immediately called for rescue. "She has a pulse," Martha shouted. "But her body is too cold." The sound of helicopter rotors approached. For the 15 minutes until the rescue team arrived, Martha kept the girl warm with her own body heat. The diagnosis was severe: multiple fractures in her right arm and leg, severe hypothermia, full-body bruising and abrasions, and psychological trauma. In Memorial Hospital's emergency room, while doctors and nurses administered desperate life-saving measures, the initial police investigation began. "She accidentally fell while trying to take a photo," her father explained. The detective felt something was off about the explanation. However, unable to get victim testimony, with no eyewitnesses at the scene and insufficient physical evidence, the case stalled. 48 hours after the incident, the Sterling couple had vanished. The mansion stood empty. Though debt collectors descended upon it, no one knew the whereabouts of the couple they sought. In her hospital room, Abigail stared vacantly at the view outside. Her memories were fragmentary, unable to accurately recall that day. Only her father's final words remained deeply etched in her heart. "You're worthless." Those words would dramatically change her life over the next 20 years. Martha Wilson visited the hospital room almost daily. She saw something special in the vacant eyes of the girl. It was the possibility of rebirth, hope for a new life. Detective Murphy would continue investigating the unsolved case for 20 years. He kept the existence of decisive evidence left on the camera hidden, not telling anyone. Room 412, Colorado Memorial Hospital, January 1994. Even as the new year arrived, Abigail's emotional wounds remained. Deep snow continued to fall outside the window, spreading a white world. On the room's TV, news of the Sterling family's disappearance played repeatedly. "Shall we go get some fresh air today?" Martha Wilson's voice echoed in the quiet hospital room. At 52, she had visited Abigail almost daily since the rescue. Her husband Tom also frequently showed his face between work duties. The couple had no children. "We've applied to become your foster parents," Martha gently held Abigail's hand one day as she told her. "If you'd like." Tears welled up in the girl's eyes. Martha already had everything prepared to take in Abigail: a comfortable single-story house in the Aspen suburbs, a spacious bedroom, a study lined with bookshelves, and a small sewing room. "In fact, I spent 15 years building my career as a buyer at the luxury boutique Bergdorf Goodman in New York," Martha said. "I missed life in the mountains, so I came here with my park ranger husband." Martha stroked Abigail's hair gently as she shared her memories. "But I still maintain my passion for fashion." Spring. Abigail began her new life with her new family. The emotional healing wasn't easy: nights waking from nightmares, sudden anxiety attacks, but Martha and Tom watched over the girl's recovery without rushing. "No one is worthless," Martha always told her. "You have unlimited potential." Twice weekly counseling. Monthly psychiatric appointments. Gradually, Abigail opened her heart. Especially the time spent in Martha's sewing room became her emotional support. "This fabric is lovely," Martha said, showing various fabrics and vintage dresses from her collection. "Feel it. Can you sense the texture of the silk?" On her 13th birthday, Abigail received her first sewing machine. From there, her talent blossomed. She remade old dresses, creating new designs. Under Martha's guidance, she eagerly absorbed everything, from basics to professional techniques. In high school, she established a fashion club. She began designing prom dresses for her classmates. Her reputation spread by word of mouth, and requests started coming from neighboring schools. "This is truly natural talent," Martha's eyes crinkled as she looked at Abigail's work. "I can say that without doubt, from my experience." At 16, she started working part-time at a local boutique. Product selection, display, customer service, everything was fresh and appealing. She found particular joy in seeing customers' eyes light up. "I can be part of special moments in customers' lives." The shadow in her eyes when she spoke was gone. After high school, Abigail attended Parsons School of Design in New York, majoring in fashion design and business. Using Martha's connections, she gained internship experience at top brands while still in school. "The world is overflowing with yet unseen beauty," Abigail said, as she continued drawing her dreams in her sketchbook. In her junior year of college, she made a decision. New information had come from the private investigator who had been searching for her parents. There had been a sighting in Mexico. "However, I'm not chasing the past anymore," Abigail had said as she terminated the contract with the private detective. "Because I have reasons to move forward." After graduation, she steadily gained experience: assistant buyer at a famous department store, brand merchandiser, manager of a select shop. Every experience became part of her flesh and blood. At 22, she opened her own store in a small alley in New York Soho. Starling. She proudly displayed the surname her father had left her. On opening day, Martha and Tom were crying in front of the store. "You've really done so well." Abigail's eye for beauty was sure: the fusion of vintage and modern design, the special feeling of one-of-a-kind pieces, attentive customer service. Word spread instantly. Soon, celebrities began to visit. A second store at 25. A third at 27. And at 28, when she opened her fourth store in Beverly Hills, annual sales exceeded $10 million. Vogue and other prominent fashion magazines praised her as a fashion icon of the new era. Fall 2021. Abigail wore a white stole that Martha had knitted for her. In the register drawer, the camera from that day was carefully preserved. She was about to receive unexpected visitors. Quality music played in the store as champagne was poured among the glamorous guests. Abigail smiled quietly. Martha's words still echoed in her heart. "You have infinite worth." 3:28 p.m., Rodeo Drive, Beverly Hills. Starling's 5th anniversary party was in full swing. The store was filled with LA celebrities. Champagne bubbles sparkled golden in the soft light. Abigail was now 36, wearing a black tailored pantsuit with Martha's white cashmere stole draped over her shoulders. She looked dignified and stunning. The New York Times had called her fashion's new empress. "Miss Sterling, what a wonderful party," said regular customer Catherine Lawrence, a once famous socialite her mother used to admire. "As always, I feel your sense is truly special." Abigail smiled gracefully. The store's display, specially designed for this day, crystallized her aesthetic sensibility: interior decor in champagne gold and midnight blue, vintage chandeliers casting soft light. Everything maintained perfect harmony. Just after 3 p.m., the store's doorbell rang. There stood an aged, exhausted-looking couple, a man in a cheap suit and a woman who had long lost her former elegance. Jonathan and Elizabeth Sterling. Their appearance was marked by 28 years of time. Deep wrinkles had erased their former dignity. Elizabeth looked around the store, remembering her bygone days of social glamour. Her eyes mixed nostalgia with envy. "My, what a lovely store," she said softly to a nearby staff member. "I wonder whose wonderful store this is." From behind the counter, Abigail watched. Various emotions swirled in her chest: anger, sadness, and a strange sense of relief. Slowly approaching the two, she said, "Do you remember me?" The 28 years had shown them no mercy. Mexico. Brazil, Argentina. Using false names, they had lived on the run, conducting near-fraudulent businesses. The life they began to escape debt collectors had created new debts, forcing them into a vicious cycle of further flight. And now, learning of their daughter's success in the newspapers, they had come with one last hope. A new fraud scheme, using the store's reputation, a foothold to deceive wealthy customers. However, the Abigail who stood before them far exceeded their imagination. "Welcome," Abigail wore a gentle smile. "Please escort these people to the VIP room." Abigail slowly poured champagne for her parents as they sat on the luxury leather sofa. "Do you remember that day?" Elizabeth's hands trembled as she held the glass. "I remember everything," Abigail continued. "I still have the photographs left on that camera." She took out the private investigator's report that Martha had commissioned. It detailed her parents' new fraud schemes and the evidence photos that the case investigator had secretly kept for 20 years. "But I won't take this to the police." The couple held their breath because Abigail slowly wove her words. "The fact that your lives lost the most valuable thing is the greatest punishment." Elizabeth broke down crying. Jonathan covered his face with both hands. "Please leave now. Never come near this store or my life again." Abigail's voice carried a quiet strength. "If you do that, I won't use this evidence." After the couple left, Abigail stood by the window, watching the bustle of Rodeo Drive. She could see her parents' figures stumbling away among the passing crowd. Then Martha's voice came from behind. "Are you all right?" Turning around, Martha and Tom stood there with worried expressions. Even now, they continued to support her at every milestone. Abigail took a deep breath, then showed a bright smile. "Yes, I'm fine now." She took out the camera from that day from the register drawer, touched it gently as if caressing it, then put it back. "Because I have my real family." The party continued late into the night. Abigail felt a sense of liberation like never before. Outside the window, LA's night view sparkled like jewels, and the gentle warmth of the white stole Martha had knitted embraced her heart. That 8-year-old girl had surely walked all this way. To the jazz music flowing through the store, Abigail raised her glass. For new beginnings. After 28 years, she had truly found her freedom at last.